Hey everyone, long time no see. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. How'd you get into my house? Blender. For those who don't know, Blender is a 3D modeling software, but it's also used for animation or After Effects situations. Especially such things as like Grease Pencil, which is like 3D but in 2D. There's a lot of great stuff that's on the internet, and people make some really crazy stuff. And so I'm like, man, I kind of want to get into that. So today, I'm going to show you the first two things I made in Blender, and also just my thought process on how it went. Now, Blender has a massive scope of things you can do, and I only just scratched the surface. So, if you would like to learn, there's plenty of videos online, and I'll also link the tutorials that I used to learn what I did. With that, let's get started. Okay, so first I just learned the controls, different things like rotation and stretching, sizing, etc. I learned this stuff from the Blender Guru, specifically his beginner donut tutorial of 3.0. He does have a new one, which is the 4.0 version of Blender, so depending on which Blender you would use, you'd change it. But honestly, it was big help. It is very long, so I did skip some of it, like the lighting things. I mainly just wanted to learn to model. Later, I'll learn more of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I basically went into the torus shape editor, grabbed a torus, changed the polygon count, and then I took the top half of it and duplicated it to make the icing. Then I started pulling the edges, which gave me little droopy guys, and then you suck in the sides to make it kind of like how the donut is formed, because if you know how a donut is formed, is one side is fried and then you flip the other side, and usually there's like this light ring and there's a little bit of variation. So this is kind of like that step to change it up. Next, you start coloring it. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm just weird. Like there's multiple of me or something. Next, I started to change the colors. This is just base colors, so there's nothing really added to it. There's also like a texture or light diffuser thing, which is how I got the gloss versus the matte between the two, the frosting and the knot. In the beginning, I just used polygon editing, but later on it's a little bit easier to make it more realistic when you start getting into sculpting. So right here I am sculpting it, which makes me get a lot more of those bumps without it taking as much time, because I just gotta, brush it. It's more natural. Next, I went to the geometry nodes section. This is where it's not as fun. It's a lot of the sciencey or smart stuff. You're gotta figure out what the heck's going on. But Blender Guru made it really easy. This thing, there's a noise variation, distorter to cause the waves to get more like that fried pattern, give some variation. And this, it's a texture map. So you have the base color, and then you're coloring on that base color to get that light ring. That would be the light fried ring. And then this is also added to the thingies. We don't really touch the frosting very much because, frosting's just kind of gloss. But in this, I'm texture painting. This is for the sprinkles. So we made the sprinkles with just little cylinders. You shrunk them down, just basic shape. And then you use an item diffuser, so it's set to 1,000 or something like that. The last thing that is needed is to set up the frame and a little bit of animation. I did lose the animation process for this one, but it'll be in the later when I make my model. But it's set up with the frame, and then here's the final thing. Honestly, I think it turned out pretty well. There's probably some things I could make it better, like lighting and stuff, but for my first attempt, honestly, I don't think it's that bad. And the simple animation's kind of cool too. Okay, so next thing, I came up with a little design. Right now, my character's not very fluid. I have no idea what I want to do style-wise or anything, so I just kind of mushed together some of my favorite games. So there's Psychonauts and Animal Crossing, I think, are my two big ones that portrayed in this one. So I did two sides. I did way more than I probably needed to, and I also did it wrong. So when you do this, you want to do it cohesively, and you probably don't need all 3 angles. You just need one front and one side, just because you're going to be flipping through the 2, but it is nice to have the other. But if you're doing this, do it in like an A pose or a T pose, because otherwise it's going to be wrong. And you'll see this later on that I had to do a lot of jerry-rigging and trying to figure out how to fix my issue, but hey, it worked out in the end. So just make sure you do that right. On a side note, I use this video by Pixo 3D for basic character modeling, and so please check them out. But yeah, this is my little thing. It may not stick as my design. Honestly, every video might even have a different version of me. But hey, this is what you got. It's what you got. So next, I just kind of started shaping the body. You know, you follow the image, you will see that I do change this up a lot, because if you notice, again, it's not, the proportions are not right. I am very thin, but I am also very wide. So again, I'm going to be fixing it later to make it actually like proportional. Some of you, probably none of you, are probably like, hey, where'd this guy go for like 4 years? Like, geez, man. And the answer is kind of nowhere. I had a lot of ideas and a lot of plans, things I wanted to work on and put on YouTube, but none of them kind of came to fruition. I'd start them, get a good chunk of the way through, and then just like lose the passion to do it. And then I just kind of gave up on a lot of things, animation wise or stuff like that. But I've got a recent new passion to start creating some things, got some personal projects. Probably even going to start up some of the old ones that I dropped. So if you would like to hear more about what might happen or the future, tell me about it in the comments, and I'll maybe make another video about the possibilities. I will say, don't count on me being here consistently. I mean, hey, I've been gone for 4 years, so don't expect too much. But I want to try to come up with a more consistent schedule and start making more things. So yeah, here we are. Back to the thing. This is the hand. I did remake this entire hand because it was frankly terrible. It was alright at the beginning. It kind of started out as like a weird like robo hand, and then later I'm like, it's a little too artificial. Let me make it a little more rounded. So it's just slightly better later on, which you'll see in like a jump cut. For the head, yeah, I start with a square, but I wanted to keep it more rounded, beveled, so I beveled all the edges. And then what I'll do is I'll actually divide the head into a bunch of squares, which will I'll get the hair out of it. Kind of similar to how the donut worked, where I take like a chunk of the shape and then I'll make a duplicate of it and then extend it as like part of the thing. The ears were actually pretty easy. Honestly, I think it had one of the most polygons out of this thing, just because there's so many steps to it. It's kind of silly. You wouldn't think an ear would have that many polygons, but it does. So this is where the hair part comes in that I was talking about. And so I just took a chunk of the head and I started shaping it to fit more of the hairstyle. You will also see again with how I made this wrong, and I had to, I'll have to redo the entire hair because it's way too big for the rest of the body. Basically, I decide to make the front flat, and I'm going to do the bangs as a separate piece in the front. I think it honestly turns out pretty well in the end, but at least I know now that I should streamline the process a bit better, not mess up the whole thing. So yeah, but here's where the bangs come in. I just make a rectangle shape and then I split it up into a bunch of different pieces, do some extruding and some interesting funky shapes. But you can see the outline difference between the back head versus the actual thing. and how much shorter it is. So I realized, you know, the hair's honestly not supposed to be that poofy. I do have pretty poofy hair though, but like, you know, not that much. This is kind of like a representation of me in a way. Also just kind of how my character has been always on this channel. Just making them a little funkier, a little more stylized. So yeah. After this, I will hop into making a little nose. He has, it's pretty simple. Kind of falls in line with the Animal Crossing nose thing, where it's just like a little rectangular shape, and it also fits into like, you know, the sharpness of the designed nose in the back, with the little thing. This is just some tweaking of the hair again. As you can tell, this takes a lot longer than the donut did, just because there's so many smaller things to do. But as you can see here, I did the same thing in the other one where I did a bunch of base coloring, and then I highlighted some areas that needed to change. Right here, I'm linking the body parts for easier animation in quotes. So like the head will connect to the body and the body will connect to the arms, etc. And then this is like the animation portion of like me animating the spin essentially. So it makes it a little easier. There's this little curve that tells you how you want it to spin, and kind of get like this spinning monkeys thing. And we did do some small lighting, and then here it is. I did a smooth one, and then I also did a sharp one. I'm gonna do a later section, or another video actually, talking about rigging it so I can actually pose it, and then also putting a face rig. And there you go. You got a guy and a donut. I did already eat the donut. It was pretty tasty, but the guy in the back is just kind of like a statue. We'll later get him to move, which is pretty cool, and then we'll see what happens in the future. I appreciate you guys for showing up to this video, and yeah, I hope you have a... Wait a minute, what was that?